And as we continue to make the connection between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, everything feels like a loop. As far as the story connection, despite Hylia's power, as she may have returned in Tears of the Kingdom, based off what we've seen so far, the life forces begin to falter, which very well seems like the forces that Ganondorf has, or Ganon has, or whoever the figure is speaking at the time, as far as that force, it seems like a very I'm going to make you falter kind of force. Redeads damn sure make me falter, so I don't know what to say for people or creatures that actually have to face that shit head on. But I'm thinking the era as the goddess of Hylia in this time that's mentioned from the story from Skyward Sword, I'm wondering if that's actually just going to be King Demise from Skyward Sword, but its demise in Tears of the Kingdom, which could end up leading to Skyward Sword. So let me talk about that more. To take, it's probably going to take the created Triforce for himself. They very well may have found the Triforce, and he's going to get it himself, and he's going to wipe out everyone else in the process, or he may make Ganondorf the conduit for it. I'm not entirely sure. We don't know if he was a creation of the golden goddesses, like the three goddesses, or from a different world entirely. Like, we really don't know. But the fact that dude said, I'm going, like, he's basically murdering without mercy, and that's basically leave no survivors. Demise could return in Tears of the Kingdom, and that could be his voice, or it could be Ganon's, or it could be the quote-unquote false prophets, if we retouch back on religion again. So Hylia ends up in Skyward Sword, raising the islands to the sky. And in the story told in Skyward Sword about the past that led to Skyward Sword, during the darkest hour, which you look at the trailer, looks like it's going to be a darkest hour at some point. It easily feels like there's going to be an all is lost moment in Tears of the Kingdom. It's begging for it. It's pleading for it. It's on its knees. But anyways, Hylia was forced, as far as Skyward Sword, forced to evacuate the survivors and the Triforce itself and raise them to the sky alongside the Hylia statue of the goddess, putting it out of Demise's immediate reach with her cloud barrier. And we see in Tears of the Kingdom there is a cloud barrier. We see that, there's random islands in the sky for whatever reason. And it very well could put something, and I'd imagine if you have sky islands, there's going to be some interesting shit there. Like, it's not going to be there just for funsies. It's not going to be like Breath of the Wild, to where you have some really neat place and then there's like a fucking Korok seed or a spirit orb at the end of it. Like, no, there's going to be some serious shit when you got some fucking floating islands. So if we talk more about Skyward Sword, Hylia and the Goddess Sword, Hylia turns her attention back to the Demon King and his army in the Skyward Sword story. And the people rally around her, and the surface, or the people that are still on the surface, they rally to her defense. She gets the blade known as the Goddess Sword, which is basically, if I haven't said it already, it's the Master Sword before it became the Master Sword. The Master Sword as we know it now is broken, destroyed, pretty much shown in Tears of the Kingdom. Teasers like, yeah, it's fucked up basically. In Skyward Sword, the Silent Trial allows Link, likely the Link that comes after the Tears of the Kingdom Link, and the Link that does the trial is the Skyward Sword specific Link. Unless that Link time travels to Skyward Sword, because it does look like a different Link, but a couple of years have passed, so he could have just grown his hair out. Or it could be Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time somehow Link. Like, who knows really. But anyways, the Faron region has the Ancient Cistern there, which allows the reborn Link to upgrade the Goddess Sword into the Goddess Longsword. And then the Lanayru region has the Sandship, which allows it to upgrade to the Goddess White Sword and allows it. After that, in the Elden region, has the Fire Sanctuary that allows it to turn into the Master Sword, remade after being damaged against a battle against Demise, Ganondorf, Lich King Ganondorf, whichever one you want to call it, which could very well be the Demise or Ganon or Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom. The races stand with the goddess against the forces, which could very well be the races that are there, including possibly the Minish in the Sky Islands, and they could be with the Zonai, or they could be the residents that precede the Zonai. Just an interesting tidbit there. Like Hylia was mortally wounded, according to the Skyward Sword story, which could be Zelda potentially dying in Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think she will, but you never know. Or it could be temporary death, and it could be rebirth. I mean, we've got the Ouroboros, so it could fit in that theme. So Link perhaps is not mentioned in the initial story told about the beginning of Hyrule, told in Skyward Sword intro for whatever reason. I think it was like a nameless hero, and it's probably going to be Link, of course, or at least a iteration of Link. And my guess for the Master Sword, I guess you could use like a Dragon Ball analogy. And that is my guess that the Goddess Sword looks so generic when you first come across it in Skyward Sword is instead of it being completely destroyed like you see in Tears of the Kingdom, it just simply just rests in a depowered state. Think of it like if you saw Dragon Ball Z, or if you happen to have seen it. I'd be kind of surprised if anybody that views this channel haven't, but you never know. Anyways, there is a main character called Goku, and at some point he reaches these incredible transformation like levels, and Goku is explaining levels to one of the antagonists called Boo, and you can just place the Goddess Sword image here and change it as the sword powers up. You have your regular Saiyan, and that's what Goku is, the character from this other show. And then he powers up to Super Saiyan, which is a stronger version of the regular one. And then you have a Super Saiyan 2, which is basically an ascended Super Saiyan, which is a stronger version of the Super one. And then you've got Super Saiyan level 3. To me, the Goddess Sword is a Saiyan. The Goddess Longsword is a Super Saiyan. The Goddess White Sword is a Super Saiyan 2. And the Master Sword is a Super Saiyan 3, which Akira Toriyama, like, I know I'm trailing off here, but the Super Saiyan 3 is supposed to draw out every drop of potential from Saiyans. The Master Sword draws out every drop of potential from the Goddess Sword. All right, but anyways, anime analogies aside, Hylia impaled Demise with an imprisoning spike known as the Sealing Spike. This made Demise the imprisoned in Skyward Sword. And then one day, Demise would return and the world would end. Could that be in Tears of the Kingdom? Who knows? The Goddess Sword was created by the goddess Hylia, who likely fixed the broken sword in Tears of the Kingdom. Or it was fixed in a way by something. Perhaps the sword isn't as powerful at this point in time as it was when it was blessed and powered up back in Skyward Sword. This creating like a weird Bootstrap Paradox with the Master Sword's creation, baby. It's confusing, man. Again, if you are confused, time travel is very fucking confusing. And when you're dealing with time travel from multiple games from the same series that may be looping in and of itself, it's gnarly. It's so gnarly. Do not feel bad if you do not understand nor follow. Basically, what it's coming down to so far, everything loops within itself. Like there's just, and you know what? The fact that you have so many centric circles, like on the collector's edition of Tears of the Kingdom, it's just a bunch of small loops. And that's what I feel like. I feel like it's a bunch of small loops. You got your Bootstrap Paradox from Ocarina of Time. You got your Bootstrap Paradox from Zelda getting revived. She's putting herself in a crystal to be revived at a later date, even though she can see us there. At one point, there's two Zeldas from the same game, from the same timeline, in the same location. And then it's wild. You got the Master Sword that's possibly just creating itself. It's just being created over and over. And then you got the fact that the events of Skyward Sword that's being told to you, or at least from the story, is very well possibly, because of the islands floating into the sky, going to be Tears of the Kingdom leading into Skyward Sword, which is basically the entire timeline, because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is supposed to be the quote-unquote end, allegedly, of the Zelda timeline, which means Skyward Sword being the very beginning, it's looping back into itself. But I digress. Then you have the Ancient Chosen Hero. We're going to try to flesh this out further. You have the Ancient Chosen Hero. An Ancient Chosen Hero is mentioned throughout Skyward Sword series, and an Ancient Chosen Hero who fought alongside Hylia in an ancient age. Think about that. What ancient age? What, where, when, what? This is all we know. It's just an ancient age and it's left at that. And Skyward Sword's Link in Zelda stood atop of the Hylia statue to honor the ancient goddess and the chosen one in the beginning of the game, who fought alongside Hylia in a distant age, whatever that may be, which is all about perspective. It's if time is a straight line, or everything that happened before you is stated to be in the past. Like, what do you do to square this? How do you fit this circle into the square hole? It's it's so convoluted, and it very well could be because, or at least part of it is because Hylia had two plans in Skyward Sword. Plan number one was Fi, who very well may make a return in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not entirely sure, but Fi, or Fi, depending on how you want to say the character's name, was chosen to live inside the Goddess Sword, the emerald tablet placed on a pedestal in Skyward Sword allows the new Link, the Skyward Sword Link, to use it going forward to repower or just to reuse the sword. The second plan was Hylia to abandon her divine form and transfer her soul to the body of a mortal so she can use the Triforce, because the Triforce was designed by the gods. All of its power can never be wielded by one. So she had to become mortal to be able to use the Triforce, and then that combines the power of the three gods. So she just tried to do her own little, like a little loophole. And getting even more convoluted, you have Hylia, Link, and the Time Gate. So for the Time Gate that I had loosely mentioned earlier, the Skyward Sword reincarnation of Hylia left for the Temple of Time during this adventure. And in the Lanayru Desert, like, to travel through a gate of time to a distant world or distant location, this world could be Hylia helping with Tears of the Kingdom, unless it's Midna helping, or from Twilight Princess, or the Zonai, or Midna in relation to the Zonai, or vice versa, when the statement of please lend him your power is heard. It could be that. It's very well could be one of those three. I feel like it can't help but just be one of those three. Note that this Temple of Time for Skyward Sword in this game is supposed to be an earlier version of the Temple of Time of Ocarina of Time, which is also the one from Breath of the Wild. But if the Ouroboros has anything to say about it, the Temple of Time of Skyward Sword is modeled after Breath of the Wild, which is modeled after Skyward Sword in an endless loop of self-reference. It's so wild. So this includes the statue of the goddess and Hylia in an endless loop of starting on Skyloft, falling to Earth, then rising back above again and again and again. And Link, when he finally makes it to the Gate of Time in Skyward Sword, like, he just awakened. The Gate of Time here works as a time machine, and it even looks similar to the color and hue that is like the Zonai and the Twilight Princess markings. Like, not only that, but look at Midna's outfit in her human form. So we haven't talked about Twilight Princess much, but let me tell you something. Look at her and her saucy, sexy, I got a crush on this fictional character human form, the true queen baddie. What do you see here? It looks just like the Gate of Time. When Link comes through the Time Gate, he appears in a place shortly after Hylia and her subjects fought against this freaky, wildish bunch. Hylia's alleged Plan A is blue and speaks as if she is a device or a piece of technology. So hear me out on this. Fi, who is also blue and was chosen to be placed inside the sword, perhaps that's more Sheikah technology. Perhaps she is a Sheikah device, or it could just be magic, or it could be both. Or it could be when technology is so advanced compared to what others know, it's no different to the observer than magic. Like, Fi mentions how important the data she got from Link is to her. Fi says at the end of Skyward Sword, which, spoiler, but I guess not that much of a one. I've already warned you several times. May we meet again in another life. That's setting her up to be in another game. For sure. It's so open-ended. It's obvious. Another life. All of the Link incarnations are more or less Links in different lives. So it wouldn't be a surprise if she made a return here. Like, even, check this out. In one of the scenes where Link catches a massive fade, and by fade I mean he gets his ass beat. Feet, or the Master Sword, whichever one you want to call it, even glows after Link gets bodied, and Zelda saves him in the Breath of the Wild at Fort Hotno. I think it's supposed to be the miracle at Fort Hotno in a past memory. You know what else is blue besides me? If you don't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hip thrust that motherfucking subscribe button. It's appreciated. But what else is blue? The ancient robot energy and time shift stones are blue. The ones that are in Skyward Sword from the technologically advanced past in Skyward Sword. That could very well just be the future of Tears of the Kingdom. What color have we seen before in Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild? Whatever the race have we seen that's so technologically advanced? The Sheikah in Breath of the Wild. Who else would the past be? Like, remember the three goddesses created everything. How, what, where, when? Would there have been another technologically advanced past? I'm not sure. It just really just leads to the Sheikah. So guys, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Ouroboros also represents the Zelda timeline, and the centric circles all represent the different bootstrap paradoxes that happen within the series. The entire series is a representation of life and death, endings and rebirth, an endless loop over and over, never ending. One creates the other creates the other. That's the conclusion that I'm coming to with this. And this also, of course, adds credence to the Revelations claim, especially the seventh seal. If you would like to learn more, definitely feel free to hit that subscribe button. Likes are definitely welcome, as well as comments. Thanks is always appreciated. Feel free to let me know down in the comment section. And if you want more, I've got a nice little lovely video right here. Catch you later.